everyone, and welcome to this episode of Pathways to Perform. This is your host, Kiesha Lalama, and I'm so excited today. Joining me is an amazing powerhouse. She happens to be a relative. I know her in every facet of her life, but I am so impressed with the woman that she has become today. I have so many descriptors for her. She is a leader. She's an innovator. She's an inspiration. She's a mom. She's a wife. She's a cousin. She's a daughter. She's a sister. She's always been, for me, a piece of my heart and soul. Please welcome Janine Sneed.
Oh, you are going to make me cry. It is so great to be here, and I am honored to be with you today. Thank you so much for having me, Kiesha.
Oh, Janine, I can't believe you're here. I'm so excited. I find you fascinating. I think your journey is incredibly inspirational. I think that you are amazing. I think that you should be very proud of what you've accomplished. And so I want to share your story with our listeners today because I think it's incredible.
Thank you. I feel humbled. I feel blessed more than anything because as you know, I grew up very normal. I grew up in a very small town, small community. There was no coder camp, there weren't science camps and that sort of stuff that is just kind of everywhere and more pervasive now. So I did take a very unique path. So I'm looking forward to telling my story today. So thanks, Kiesha.
Oh, I love it. And I think what's really cool is that I knew you as an artist and a cheerleader, a fierce cheerleader, right? You were so good. And you were, but always a leader, always mindful. And what I remember the most is your intellectual curiosity. You always wanted to learn more. So let's talk about your journey. I mean, through high school, how did you know that you might want to go down this path, especially as someone who was an amazing athlete, an amazing artist? How did you know that you were going to go down more of a science kind of field?
Yeah, so it's great. I didn't know. And so kind of growing up, but it's funny because reflecting back, things that I did growing up in elementary school, middle school, high school, molded and shaped me to the person that I am today. So growing up, I was always in small community sports. We didn't grow up in a large community. I think we had 140 kids in my graduating class. But things that were important that were instilled in us growing up were things like team sports, school activities, being there for each other, your family, your friends. I mean, my grandmother lived a street down. My aunt lived 3 streets down. You were 10 minutes away. So this notion of community and support in team sports has always carried with me. So leaving high school, I thought I was going to be a teacher. And I get into my end of my sophomore year and I did not declare it because something did not sit right with me. I felt like I needed a different intellectual challenge. And I remember sitting at Kivahan, which is a coffee shop in Oakland, staring at Carnegie Mellon, saying like, I'm not smart enough to be there. I just don't have the skills to be there. But something made me take a computer class. So I remember taking C++ over the summer at Pitt, and I fell in love with it. And that's what totally changed my career down into STEM, right? Science, technology, math, and so forth. And I fell in love with that. And when I look back and say, how did you get to where you are? I'm going to go back to sports, and you go back to, leadership where I am right now. When you think about sports, I love being part of teams, but it's not just about the collaboration of being part of a team. Think about in sports, you win and you lose. So you learn from losing just as much as you learn from winning. Think about coaches that you've had, right? Being a leader, you have to coach. And by the way, you win and you lose leading, right? But you learn with growth mindset, with fail forward, fail fast, what that means in terms of winning and losing, right? Coaches, we've all, Kiesha, had great coaches who have shaped us, who have formed us, who have pushed us forward. And we've also had some pretty bad coaches. right? Who really did not guide us. That was all in it for them. You see the same thing in leadership. Think about preparation. I mean, Kiesha, I just remember you coaching me. Do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again. Through preparation and through practice, you build confidence. Now, your confidence isn't a testament of your ability. Your confidence in your preparation prepares you for the meetings. It prepares you for your client. You know what it could when you go in, and if you don't feel prepared, if you don't have the skills, how that feels. You do the same thing in sports. So a lot of my background, Kiesha, I never thought I would be here today, but I felt like there were steps that God put along the way that said, you're going to be here this year. You're going to be that this year. And those are things that kind of got me to where I am today with my leadership.
Mm-hmm. It's so profound to me. I always say to my students, preparation is not punishment. It is not punishment. It actually builds your confidence. Exactly what you said. It's doing it over and over and over again. So you gain that confidence so you can lead. And, so when you get to Carnegie Mellon, which is so awesome, I love that you sat there and you looked and you're like, how do I get there?
Yeah.
And then what did you major in? How did you transition from an undergrad to an actual, graduate program? How did you get there?
Great question. So after Pitt, I went to work at IBM, and I was there for 2 years with my mind set on, I really want to go get a master's in technology. I was around amazing, smart people in IBM. They were researchers in health sciences, health and life sciences. And so IBM sponsored me to go get my master's at Carnegie Mellon. And I knew I wanted to stay technical. So my bachelor was technical, my master's was technical. But I mean, Kiesha, given my upbringing, there was so much of a social element to me. And so I wanted to go into information systems management because it gave me the courses and the skills to have the technical foundation and build on that technical foundation. But I also did things like financial analysis, negotiation, entrepreneurship, and startups, which I thought was so cool because you have this opportunity to bring tech and business together through those programs at CMU. And it was one of the best years of my entire life. I mean, it was a 1-year program and it was very intense, but it was just, I enjoyed it so much. So that's how I made my way to Carnegie Mellon. And then after I graduated, I came back to IBM.
Okay. So you came back to IBM, and I love that it's really about bringing people and ideas and concepts together to make magic happen. And I mean, I don't know that, our family and our background, it's all about bringing people together in a room, conversation, joy, celebration, all those things, right? And to be able to bring, like you said, those dynamics, your youth and your socialization and your environment to your career, all of those things from elementary school, your sports, developed you into who you are today. And so through your time at IBM, after you finished your master's, did you enter a new position? Was there an automatic promotion? Because what was that process like? I think people think, okay, I got my master's and now I'm going to get promoted. I don't know what that assumption is in your industry.
Yeah, it's a great question. So that opportunity coming back into IBM, which I was, and I still am completely grateful for that sponsorship.
You love IBM. You are
I do love IBM, which we'll totally talk about too.
It's so true though. I always see posts. I love IBM. Go IBM. I love that you are so proud of the company you work for. And I love that. It's prideful. I love it.
And you know what it is? And then I'll go back to your question. So look, you may work at many different companies, right? But you have to find the company that has the same values that you inherently have. And I felt like for 20 years, it's been about supporting me as an employee, supporting me as a mother, supporting me to get to an executive. And look, there have been, times that were really hard, but you don't give up. Because those times that are hard, when you see the obstacle, you can't go around it. You got to go through it.
That's right.
And if you find the right support system around you, and it can be colleagues, it can be family, it could be neighbors, to work your way through those obstacles, right? Because it's not going to be easy. You need to know that in order to get to achieve your goals, to get where you want in life. It's not going to be easy, but I felt like I've had a great support system, great career growth opportunities, great opportunities to try new things. So for 15 years, going back to your question, I went back into a role where I was shadowing and supporting a general manager, watching a general manager in action for a year. So you're learning what it's like to actually run a business. After that, I did get promoted, and then I went into product management roles, which was a mix between the technology and how we build technology for customers to consume. And so that's how that path happened. But the other thing, like as part of this, is you got to take some risks. If you think you're going to grow by being comfortable, you really need to look again. Growth and comfort, as Ginny always said, does not coexist. So you got to get uncomfortable. You got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable in order to grow.
I love that. I tell my students all the time, if you become complacent, that is like the walk of death. Like it's just one of those things. You cannot become complacent, and you certainly should never be comfortable. And when you get comfortable, shake it up. You got to shake it up somehow, because you're never going to grow that way. You're never going to learn. You're never going to develop. You're never going to expand. I think that's right. Amazing. That's amazing. And so, you're at IBM. I don't know. There are a handful of people in my life that I've heard. I'm probably one of them. I love my job, right? I love my life. I'm so blessed. It's exactly what you said too, just blessed. What do you love the most about your job? You might be the only other person like me that's like, I love it. I love IBM.
Yeah.
What do you love the most about it? You love your career.
I do. So I think first it's the values. And, we're in this motion right now with some new leadership that has come in that I believe have set the tone for what the company and the culture needs right now. It's about radical candor. And I think you and I know, like, let's get candor. Let's go solve the problems, right? We're not going to be able to solve problems sitting in a back room in a corner. So I love the notion of radical candor, entrepreneurial spirit, running more flat, being open, trying new things, failing forward, failing fast, growth mindset. So if we kind of work in this world where we're afraid and we kind of set low targets and low goals, I mean, what's the challenge in that? We have to embrace challenge. And then the fourth thing is all around, diversity and inclusion. And I'm very proud to be with a company that embraces that. And I, want to be a change agent as part of that. I founded a group 3 years ago called GROW. It stands for Guidance, Resources, and Outreach for Women in Cloud. And we're over 3,500 now within the company. And we are a support system and a network for supporting each other for career growth. So skills, networking, mentoring. We have different types of topics with different types of speakers that come on, things like related to hot skills in the industry. It could be about mentoring and shadowing and how you get a mentor. It could be about salary and how do we ensure that, and how do we, talk to our managers and get comfortable, because that's not always comfortable, talking to your leader about your salary and how you're being paid, competitively. And I believe that that's important because we have more that we need to do with keeping women in technology. And so what I believe is my responsibility now is advocating and ensuring we're giving women the opportunities to grow their career. So it's another reason why I love it.
So proud of you. I'm so proud. I'm in awe. You're like my little sister. Come on. This is awesome. I love it. Okay. And we're definitely cut from the same cloth. I mean, we're the same kind of person, same demeanor, same aggressiveness, same let's go, let's get the work done, let's do it. Right. And let's get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Let's do it.
Right. That's right.
And I love, I kind of want to circle back to this concept and idea of support, right? You said you've got to find that support system, whether it's your family or your, just your colleagues, or maybe it's a mentor or a boss. But I do think that these things come at different times as well. It's not just, a family member or just your colleagues. There are moments where you're walking through that fire. A good friend of mine once, when I was just faced against a huge challenge, said, you got to walk through that fire. She was the one that actually got me to the other side. But it's one of those things, right? I would never expected it. But you have to pay attention to those signs, right? And how important is it to maybe lean in to different aspects or different support systems at different times? It could be one problem.
You hit the nail on the head, Kiesha. So one of the things that I think about is a lot of people that I work with want mentors, but you got to go into your point on time. At this point in time, is this the right mentor for you? What problem are you trying to solve? What goal are you trying to achieve? And make it specific so that you and that mentor could work through it. Maybe, you're looking for somebody that has done that role before, or who has that experience. Or a third scenario could be, I'm trying to work my way through this problem. I'm not quite sure. Maybe I'm in development and I want to try something in technical marketing. Can I shadow you? Right? So it's very contextual, and you will face these experiences constantly. And that leads me to always expand your network. Like the time that you need a network is not the time to go find a network. You should be actively reaching out through so many social communities, whether that's LinkedIn or Twitter, whatever is out there right now that everybody's using. I use those two. Continue building your network to ensure you're finding those people and you're working relationships. When you think about what has happened the past year, if there's anything, we have gotten mentally stronger. We have gotten, some of us, more emotionally stronger. I mean, we have seen relatives die, neighbors die, people get sick. You have to have a support system around you to help you through these things so that you're not dealing with them alone and you're not sitting there stirring. So it's very contextual based on the situation at hand.
Mm-hmm. I think it's so important to be present and pay attention to what's happening in that moment, but building your resources as you're going through life so they're there waiting for you. And then you go, oh, I met this person, or, oh, I might be able to tap into that. But it's about, in my arena, we call it interdisciplinary, right? You probably call it something about integration or cross-pollination and these kinds of things. But we keep talking about interdisciplinary arts and this idea of bringing different disciplines together to create magic, of course. But I think it's so important. In your field, what are some other aspects that students could be researching or looking at to build their resource list? What goes with STEM?
Actually, it's a great question. So I'll lean on my 10-year-old son here. So my son is like so creative and like artistic. Like he draws these like insane pictures. And I'm like, where did you come from? But he's also doing coder school. So when you think about marrying the arts with the passion of design, he loves, videos and photos, and thinking about that combined with coding the next generation app. There's so much to be done with user experience and next generation apps. And you think about IBM has a huge design practice, which is world-class. And we've got amazing, leaders behind and championing that program. When you think about interdisciplinary skills related to the arts and technology, the opportunities are huge. Think about language. Think about English, think about communication. You may have a huge passion for technology and have skills there, but if you can't communicate, whether that to be your team or whether that be to a customer, you're going to struggle. So communication and technology skills are vitally important. So those are just two things that come to mind in terms of the interdisciplinary skills.
And so will you share with our audience what your exact title is at IBM? And then what do you love the most about leadership?
Yeah. So my title is Vice President of Customer Success. And I've been doing this role for a little over 2 years now. What I love most about leadership that I'm in right now, first and foremost, it's the people. So I went through my first quarter and I counted, I had 33 one-on-ones with different people in my organization just to connect, just to meet them, just to understand what ticks. So I love the aspect of being able to develop leaders and develop individual contributors to help them be their best. I feel like that's our job as a leader, to help people see their best help them see areas where they need to grow, because I think that coaching and giving that feedback on things to improve, everybody has something to improve. I don't care who you are, but everybody has something to improve on. And I think if employees are appreciative when you tell them, hey, I think I saw that in a meeting, you did great here, but maybe think about this. So I love being able to develop employees and develop managers. The second part of this is I love disruption. And so I'm in a space that I get to craft, I get to define, and it's pretty disruptive in the ways that we're thinking about go to market. And that is what really challenges me about leadership, because I can try new things and I've got amazing support from my management to go and just invigorate and go attack that.
I love that. It sounds so exciting. I got a text from you and you said, I'm living my dream right now. And this project of what, whatever you're working on, can you share a little bit about the specifics of that? Because
Yeah,
you literally sent the text, I'm living my dream.
I did.
So
I did.
what is that for you? What is
Yeah.
this project and what is this dream? I love it.
Absolutely. So when you think about what we do within customer success, I talked about having technical skills and then having communication skills. So, and I talked about disruption. So for 110 years, IBM did two things. We built hardware and software, and we sold hardware and software. Well, with the advent of customer success and the way that companies are purchasing with subscription, we need customer success managers to help our customers deploy software and get value from the software. So we stood up a redefined mission of customer success. We're growing the organization to many, many, many hundreds of people to help our customers deploy and get value out of our hybrid cloud and AI platform and our software running on top of it. And it's exciting because it's new, it's needed. Our customers need this. And so I see the value that we can bring to help our customers be wildly successful with our software. And that's really with the people aspect of it, the new mission aspect of, and the impact for customers. That's why I'm so jazzed up and motivated about this mission.
How exciting. Bringing all these things together, making magic happen. That's my cousin. I love it. Oh, it's so cool. And, it's interesting because I hear the parallels in what we do. And it really, for me, it's bringing dancers together with the music, with the set pieces, with the lights, and making magic happen and the story come to life. And for the audience, it's very much the same.
Exactly. It's just a different discipline. And the show comes together, the performance, it always comes together at the end, but you need all of those components. That's what, think of a solution, right? Different technology components. You're just, on the stage with that solution. You need that, and everybody comes together for the best performance possible. It's awesome.
That's so cool. I love it. So what are your dreams? What is next for you? I know you're immersed in this. Do you see something on the horizon, even if it's in 5 years, 10 years, for the company, for yourself? What is your kind of trajectory from here?
That's a great question. So I want to continue growing in leadership. I do a lot of diversity and inclusion presentations and that kind of, mentoring. So I want to continue doing that. I just want to continue, tearing into books, tearing into podcasts. I want to kind of get deeper and continue to get deeper in my leadership. And also I just, want to do more service. There's local things that I could be doing right here to help next generation boys and girls be motivated by technology. I want to be on a board someday. I believe that I have a lot of value to bring to a board based on my experiences. I don't have a point of view on what type of board yet. I'm kind of not there yet. But I think there's more service, we're here, and I'm a huge fan of Eleanor Roosevelt. And I just finished her book, Learn by Living. And she talks about usefulness and how as humans, as people, we need to be useful. And useful is in giving back. It's in our volunteering. And I feel like I've been blessed with so many things and opportunities and experiences. It's my duty to give back. So through boards, through volunteer, through service, I want to make sure I'm doing that.
It's just so impressive because as much as you are successful and you're, at a very high level of achievement, you see only more growth, only more learning, only more understanding, and certainly to give back. And I think that's beautiful and, again, impressive. I just
Well,
adore
and
it.
I'll say, as Eleanor says, you grow or die, right? So it's kind of like, you just have to keep, that's what life's about. And it's about your network, your relationships, and growing. So I think we all have something to learn from each other, which is listening and learning from each other.
I agree 100%. And so, for our listeners, what kind of advice do you have for them?
Persistence. It's not easy, no matter what you decide. I don't care if that means you're going to be a stay-at-home spouse, you're going to be a stay-at-home mother, or you're going to go, be a president of a dance company. I don't care what that is, but it's not going to be easy. Persist, persevere, perspire, because it's hard work, but don't give up. You're here for a reason. You have talents. There are going to be some things you're great at, and there are going to be some things you're not so good at. Recognize where your strengths are. Recognize where your weaknesses are. Embrace them both. Be vulnerable. Ask for help when you need it. Have coaches, have mentors, have your own little board of advisors that you go to when you need help with problems or you're thinking about a career. Do not give up. You have so much to offer the world, but just know, if it was easy, anybody can do it. So just go for it. Persist, persevere, perspire.
I'm in awe. You're gonna make me cry. I'm so proud of you. I love
I'm
it.
so proud of you.
It's so wild. Okay. Yes, my girl. Okay. So now we're gonna enter this series that I call 5 and 5. It's just a speed round, 5 quick questions to answer in 5 minutes. So let's start with number 1.
Okay.
How do you define success?
That is it's extremely personal to every single person. I think success, I live by this notion of just 1% better every day. That if you were better than yesterday, you're doing okay. 1% better every day. By the end of the year, if you do the math, you're 37 times better in 1 year if you get 1% better every single day.
Amazing. Of course you did the math there. Okay. I'll skip over the math part, but that's what makes the world go around. People like you, people like me. Okay. I love it. You kind of touched upon this earlier. So the second question is really interesting. In any field, there's a misconception with young people. I think that they think it's all about them, their success, them singular stardom, whatever is in their mind about solo success. Sorry. And so team collaboration, that's all it really is. And in your field, you talked so much about your team and collaborating. And what is it like to have so much of your success be contingent upon their hard work, their dedication? And how does that impact your daily practice, your daily process with your team?
It's a great question. So as a leader, it's not about you. The day you become a leader, a manager, it's not about you. The day you become a mother, the day you become a father, it's not about you. And so you got to put yourself into your now servant leadership, and you've got to be there for your team. I do believe in setting some boundaries, like, I'm not going to start till 8 a.m. or 7 a.m, whatever. Set some boundaries for yourself. You need time for yourself. I get that. You need time for reflection, planning. But as a leader, you're there for your team's success. As part of that, you're constantly coaching. If you're not giving feedback, coaching feedback to help your team, and I'm going to use this very carefully, be even better than they were yesterday, because it's about 1% better every day, you're not doing your job. And then if you're part of a team, it's not just about what you take, but it's about what you give. And what are you giving your team to be the best that they can be?
Well said, my friend. Very good. All right. So for our question 3, what is your greatest failure and how did you bounce back from that?
Ooh, that's a great question. So this is a great learning experience. So a couple years ago, I was running a project to bring 2 big portfolios together. and it was across 3 general managers. And I did not have a manager that supported me at that time. And the project did not go the way that I wanted it to go. It did not go the way anybody wanted it to go because there was so much conflict. And I didn't have, my boss, I remember at the time, told me, you know, people want you to fail. And I'm just like, what are you doing to help me not fail?
Exactly.
Right. So I got myself out of that and I went into a different role because I foresaw that the support system wasn't there, the structure wasn't there. There were too many agendas, and it just, you feel it and you see it and you kind of live it and you're like, this isn't working. And so, you know, you got to kind of be patient, but when you see a project has no hope and no support, you know, maybe stop and pivot and go find something that drives your passion again.
That's very, very important. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And so what are your current interests outside of IBM that you love so much and your job and all of the things that you normally do? What are your interests outside of that? You talked a little bit about podcasting and reading, certainly, but what else?
Yeah. So great question. So I always say when I introduce myself, I'm a mother. So I'm a mother of 2 boys, Jackson, Maddox, 10 and 8, and they are wild and they are crazy. So I love spending my time with them. I'm a wife to Matt, who's also completely crazy and insane and very funny. So I enjoy spending time with Matt. And I'm a runner. I love running. I'm obsessed with it. I love biking. I got into the Peloton craze over COVID, and I'm a hiker. So Matt and I love to hike in Asheville, hike all day, have some great craft beers at night. Those are the things that I love doing.
That's beautiful. And so how do these interests and passions help you and help inspire your career and your work and your responsibilities?
Great question. So when a lot of my exercising is like, it helps me think through problems or clear my mind and start fresh. You know, it's amazing what a hard run or a great spin will do to kind of clear your head and give you a fresh perspective and also kind of get some of that stress out. With my kids, it also keeps me in check. You know, it's a responsibility, and I like seeing, you know, my kids seeing that, hey, I'm a working mother and I've got, you know, priorities, I've got accountability, I have responsibility, and this is the way that it's going to work. And that's all they've known. So I became an executive when my son Maddox was 6 months old and Jackson was 1.5 years old. So that they've only known a working mom, but they keep me in check and they keep me on my toes and they keep me real. They keep me humble. They keep me vulnerable.
Wow. It's so important to not separate. And it's one thing that I've learned as well. You know how important my kids are. Jake and Jax are my life, but they are really what balanced everything out for me. People are like, how do you do it? Well, it's my kids. Exactly. And then, you know, and the older they get, the more they challenge me to be better. Mom, you can do this podcast. Let's go. You know?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
They are the ones.
And they want that for you.
Yeah. And it's so interesting. But again, that support system, and I mean, my parents and, you know, our families are so, they're there for you.
That's right.
We do have that different level of support, a depth that has always been there for us, but that's what has always allowed me to do both. And
I've seen your boys with you. I've seen you know, they know Kiesha, she's running her business. She's, you know, heading to Point Park. I mean, like they know you as this, and you're not you, Kiesha, without that. So like, don't try to take that away. Right. Yeah. So I know, and they've always been there to see you through that.
Well, and I think that that's different for this generation, the younger generation coming up. I get the question all the time, can you have a family and can you have a career? And the answer today is absolutely. And I think that's so important for women to know that that is possible.
Absolutely. Because it's done. And there are role models out there. And there are so many women. I mean, we're just 2 in a mass of millions that would give advice to the younger generation on how to work their way through that. Questions to ask, things to think about. You know, ask. If you can't sit there spinning and stirring, ask, because people will help you work your way through it.
I love that. Well, it has been an honor to have this conversation with you. I would love to have you back. We can speak about so many things, right? Leadership, we can do different topics and themes. And I really would love to hold a whole special with diversity, equity, accessibility, and inclusion with you. There's so much that we can talk about. So I would love to have you back on the show, but I really cannot thank you enough. What you have shared with us today is completely priceless. Just so valuable. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Kiesha.
Oh, thank you. And keep going. Keep doing the thing. Keep chasing it. Give us your 3 words again for advice. I think it's important that we end with this. And one more time.
Persist, persevere, perspire.
I love it. Thank you, Janine. And take
Thanks,
care.
Kiesha.
All right.
Bye-bye.